being normal is overrated. It's okay to be the kid that's a little loud. It's okay to be, a little different, the kid that blurts out something funny every now and again, because you may just turn it into something. I've been lucky enough to turn it into a really cool piece of my life in stand-up comedy that I really I look forward to every time I get to go on stage. And if I think back to, if I were to think back to being 15 years old, the idea of standing in front of a room full of people being expected to public speak would have been the most terrifying thing in the world to me. Like I would have, yeah, like truly, if there was a, hey, by the way, you got to give a speech at high school for 5 minutes, I'd be like, I'm sick that day. Well, we didn't tell you what day it was. Doesn't matter. I am sick.
Hey, hey, what's up, buddy?
Not much, not much. How was the move to Toronto?
Stressful.
Yeah, moving sucks, dude.
It
Moving
sucks.
sucks.
I don't want to do it again for many years.
Yeah, it literally is the worst. Uh, it's the worst. I can't think of many things in adult life really, other than like,
Yeah.
losing loved ones along the way, worse than moving.
Yeah,
It's
it
like,
sits right under
yeah, death of
losing a
loved
loved
ones,
one.
moving, picking someone up at the airport. Those are like the three
Yeah. Picking
tight
someone up at the
spots.
airport after moving is hilarious. We should just make the whole episode of top 10 things that suck in life.
The horrors of adult living.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, I had to I'm green screening the background right now until I figure out that situation.
I listen. I see Richard Pryor records. I see Steve Martin records.
Yeah.
Maybe Led Zeppelin there in the corner. Cheech and Chong. Is that Led Zeppelin in the corner? Is that what top left?
Yeah, that's
My
Zeppelin's
left.
fourth album. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
And
all early.
did you have a Johnny Rogers vinyl pressed?
Oh yeah, that I always move the wrong direction. That is my hip hop album.
That's cool, man. I dig that
Yeah.
you did it in vinyl. That's really neat.
Yeah, I just did it for myself. It's not like I was gonna like
Who
sell them or whatever.
cares?
But I was like, how cool
Who
would it be to
cares,
like
dude?
have your own just the thought of like having my own music like pressed into a vinyl, I was like, oh,
Yeah,
that's cool. And it
that's
really like
unbelievable.
wasn't that expensive for like something so cool like that, where I'm like, oh, this is a good like memory of that time period. Because it's not like I'm still
Well,
making songs. It's like that was
and
literally just something I
at
did
the
for
end
two
of the
years.
day, no matter what happens, it's a physical thing. Like it's evidence of your art and your effort and your work
Yeah.
and putting yourself out there, and that's kind of cool.
Totally. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries.
um, Emile, what was your one word for the episode?
I landed on elasticity, which,
Elasticity.
yeah, just kind of that
Write
that
it down.
that bounce backness. It's funny, in the course of life when I was younger, I kind of pursued sports a little bit, and then as an adult, I've sort of fallen into comedy, and those things sort of have a predisposed setting of failure.
Especially
So
sports. Yeah.
yeah, so you sort of have to have that elasticity, that willingness to bounce back again and again, and sort of rebound from failure. So it's kind of a word that sticks around and lives with me a little bit. And it's that reminder that you can be pulled pretty far and stretched pretty thin, but as long as you keep coming back, you're gonna be all right. It's one of those things. You try and find a little positive in the sea of negatives.
Yeah, I always like to like that sort of stuff, like being adaptive and whatever. I always even try to remind myself that when things are going like really well too. Like when I had Barry Katz on, he was talking about like who was it? Tom Hanks or somebody was telling him that Tom Hanks does this thing where anytime he's having like a really bad day or a really great day, like when he won the Academy Award, he went into the bathroom and he was like, "This too shall pass." Like
That's
even this
great.
great feeling that you're having, it's like this is gonna fade, and then you're gonna have a really bad day, but you just have to remind yourself that also is gonna pass, and then there's gonna be another good day, and like people like try to, I think like reach a state of happiness, but it's really just like an emotion you feel when recognizing something in the moment. You know,
For
like
sure.
you're doing like you like doing comedy, you're doing comedy, and the crowd loved all of your stuff that night. You're like, yeah, I feel happy. But then literally, like you could go to a show right after that and then bomb with the same material and be like, oh, now I feel sad. Like
I
the
have
point is
had
just
the
goes.
experience of two sets in one night with different audiences, one going really well and one going very poorly,
Isn't
and
that
and it's wild. It will level you out.
it's one of the weirdest phenomenons, like to be humbled so quickly.
Uh, it's quick isn't even the word. Like the immediacy of it is because when you have a good show in a place that's well attended, it's a full room, the vibe's good, the laughter's contagious, and it almost doesn't matter what you say, everything's landing, it feels good. You walk in a few inches, like a few inches shorter, you walk out a few inches taller,
For
and
sure.
then you go to another room, and that room just buries your self-esteem. Like just they're out front digging a grave for you to roll you into. Like, nope, that guy's not funny. Get rid of him.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard, but that's that elasticity, right? You have to be like, do I love this enough to come back and do it again tomorrow? Did I was that good feeling of the full room that was humming good enough to make me scrape myself off the carpet and do this again tomorrow night because
Yeah.
that part felt not so good.
Yeah. 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 No, even like I think Norm Macdonald, whenever he would, somebody that used to open for Norm Macdonald said this. They were like, if he had a good night, we knew we were going to the casino right after. Like we were gonna go gamble or whatever and celebrate.
That's great.
If we had a bad night, we were gonna be at the club till midnight because Norm was gonna stand at the door and say thank you to everyone as they walked out.
That's really funny though. And I can, being familiar with Norm's work, I can actually picture that,
Yeah,
the satisfaction
thanks.
of
Thank
creating
you.
that discomfort for other people.
He's like, you
Um,
made me feel this discomfort. Now I'm gonna
yeah,
make you feel it right
that's
now.
right. You got to sit in it now, which I think is very funny in itself. Like it
Yeah.
really is a testament to the way his mind operates that you can figure out that sort of, we can flip this, no problem. You're gonna suffer through it with me. Let's
Yeah.
go. And that's kind of fun. And I think as you as you get older or more experienced in doing stand up, there's different forms of bombing. I think there's bombing where you're like, oh, I'd like to win these people back.
Right.
I want them
And
to
you
like
have the
me.
time to do that. Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
then there's bombing where it's like, okay, they just aren't into me. They don't like me. I've done these jokes in other places and it's done well. I'm going to keep doing the jokes, and if they hate me, that's going to entertain me. Their hatred of this tried and true material and
Yeah.
their basic dislike of me for just being here this evening is going to be enough to carry me through. As this is funny to me now. Like we've reached that point of we no longer hurt my feelings. This is sort of fueling the mania within that results in sort of me
Yeah.
me delivering that bad energy right back to you.
Totally. And I think that's how you build confidence in like performance is, comedians, we love talking about how like, oh, our job is to take something that's like not good and make it, not make light of it per se, but like add a perspective to it that makes it feel a little bit lighter. Like someone talking about like the passing of their grandmother on stage, maybe that helps them get over it or whatever. As a comedian, I'm saying. But like very rarely do we as comedians look at like ourselves in the way that we do comedy and try to find another creative way to deal with like maybe a pushback or maybe the material's not hitting or you're having a bad show. What's a creative, like the example being Norm standing at the door thanking it? That was his way of processing a bomb, right? And having fun with it and being creative with even a bomb. Like, I think even if you're not doing well, instead of like going inward, you can almost take it as an opportunity to just kind of do whatever you want at that point. It's almost like
Sure.
the audience is giving you the freedom to do whatever you want because if they don't like your prepared material, they'd be like, all right, well then here comes some unprepared shit. Here comes my real feelings,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and
No,
let's try to make it funny.
there's real value in that, and I think um, I'll give you a quick example. Wafik, I'm sure
Yeah.
pretty well. He had put together an indie show at this place out in the west end of the city, and he had asked me to host, and I said, yeah, no problem, and we went, and the audience was a group of Shriners. They were like friends of the owner of the place who had bought tickets out of like guilt or whatever,
Sick.
and
I would
right,
love buying a place out of guilt.
and they hated every second of it, especially like my stuff is mostly darker leaning stuff. I wouldn't even say leaning, it lives right in the middle of dark spaces, and so they just weren't having it, and the crowd work engagement wasn't there. They didn't want to chat really. And so Aaron Power went up and he has this wonderful joke about the difference between a fiddle and a violin, and sort of the premise of the joke is that the fiddle is like the white trash neighbor, and the the violin, the Stradivarius, gets respect because of its name and its education and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And so he closes with that, and I go right back up as the host, and I'm like, I know the difference. You can't violin a child, and and you hear like two comedians laughing in the background because it's such a grotesque joke, and
Yeah,
like not even a smirk on any of the
yeah.
people. Like I'm like, we can take it a run lower, and they were just like, no, we already hated you. We cannot hate you
Uh,
more.
there's
Uh,
nothing worse than being like on stage. It's a comedy night, and then someone's taking you seriously. It's like, oh, come
but there's
on.
no way to pre-gauge
You can't. You can't. It's like a roll
what
of the
it
dice
is.
every
Well, that's
time.
it. Like people.
Yeah.
So I was doing a show and I was hosting again, and there was a lady in the front row, and between acts, I'm looking at her. She takes her teeth out, and it's impossible not to notice someone in the front row removing like a set of chiclets. You just can't miss
Yeah.
it. And so, I pointed it out and made light of it a little bit. Nothing mean spirited, but I was like, "You did just take out your teeth, right? I saw that. That was
Yeah.
a thing." And the room kind of gets a little happy about it, a little laugh, and we're all having a good time. Introduce the next comic, and the next comic gets up, and his first joke is about, um, his belief that anxiety is not real because everybody has it. So it's not a real thing if everybody has it, which is a very funny premise. And
Yeah.
this lady stands up, slams her hand on the table, is like, "I'm not going to listen to any of this. I can't believe this is an outrage that you would make fun of such a serious." I was like, "Lady, I was just making fun of you for not
Oh
having
my
teeth in. Like,
God.
I was literally poking at you personally, and there was no
Yeah.
issue." And this is the thing: like, she got up, she settled her tab, she grabbed her husband, like marched out, like she lost her mind. And it's like, if you were to put those two topics side by side, you being laughed at for
Yeah.
your teeth being out, and
Oh
someone
my
saying,
God.
"Hey, anxiety is a general problem now, it's not really specific anymore." If you were to line those two things up and say, which one are you going to be upset about, it'd probably be the teeth.
Yeah, you would think
So
so.
you would really, you have no way of knowing what the thing is that's going to sort of shift
Yeah.
the teeter totter over for someone that's in that space and is ready to be set off by something.
Yeah.
You got 150 people in a room. There's no way to know what that one
Oh my
person is going
God.
through and is bothering. And so I don't know what the solution there is. You just do your best to do things that you think are funny, and you
Yeah.
hope you can convey in a way that's relatable enough to others that they think is funny.
Yeah, no, totally. And you really have to I almost need to take my own advice with some of the reflection of like bombing on certain jokes because I'll have certain jokes that I know are funny because they've gotten laughs. Like if it didn't get any laughs, then I know okay, that's not
Sure.
funny. But people laughed, it's funny. It made me laugh, I think it's funny. And then there's the times like that where you get like such a visceral reaction of someone to the joke where the next time you go to do it there's like the slight hesitation of like now you're thinking of how someone else is thinking of your
Right.
material and that kind of defeats the purpose. So it's all supposed to just be us venting pretty much
Yeah.
in a funny way. Like I had a joke about like I don't understand. I don't. I think it was even just a premise, but I was like, I don't get why LCBO is closed on Family Day. Like, don't they know alcoholics don't have families? And
That's
like
funny.
somebody was like, my brother is an alcoholic, and I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God,
Right.
no,
That
you
sucks,
missed the
but
whole thing.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what the
That
fuck?
wasn't done. And I think for the most part people can tell when something's done um in a mean-spirited way with an attempt to hurt somebody as opposed to a general like, this thing is funny to me.
Yeah,
Um but I think that's part of the roadblock of like artistry, right? A lot of times I think the natural thing is to be like, well, will other people think that I think this is funny, but will other people? Maybe they won't. Maybe I'll hold back on it. Maybe I won't do it. That's one of the cool things. Obviously, Tom Green is here in our scene, and he's
which
a
is
wonderfully.
amazing. Yeah,
It's incredible. Having him back has been wonderful.
yeah,
But you can see in I told him at one of the shows, I said, one of the things I really admire is that as an artist, if it comes into your mind, it's coming out in the world. Like he will
yeah.
sit on his piano, his guitar, whatever it is, in the middle of the night. I'll be up at 2 in the morning. Yeah, Tom Green's live on Instagram. You look in, he's just fiddling away on his thing. There's no concern for will people like this? Will they
Yeah.
judge it? Will they, you know,
It's
and
true
that's
artistry. Yeah, it's true
that, well,
artistry.
that's such an incredible thing. Like, and I find it so admirable that anybody can do that. Because certainly there's so many things that I give thought to. Um,
Just do it.
right. Well, that's it.
You have
That's
that.
sort
Here's
of
my thing
also
is
one of the fun
if
things, right?
I started like doing things like where if I have the thought, I the next thought is, okay, how do I do that thing? I don't think like, is this going to be good for my career? Is this going to make me money? Is it what I just think like, oh, I really want to do that thing. Okay, my next thought is, how do I do that thing? Like what's the first step? Like if I want to make a song, where do I start? Like how do I go from there? And then I just do it and then I just keep doing it. Because one thing I noticed was there was a lot of people that I surrounded myself with that always said, "Oh, that'd be a good idea," and then they do nothing.
Right.
And then I notice the people that are successful and happy are the people that go, "That'd be a good idea," and then they do the thing. They execute. That was like literally the only difference between the two that I could see was like there's like people who just do it without even caring about what anyone is going to think of it just for the sake of it. And then there's the people that go, they like self-censor their own desires, which is the craziest thing
Sure.
to me. It's like it's your life. Do whatever the fuck you want. I don't care.
But
As long
it's
as it's
also
not hurting
such
me
like
or it's
an
hurting
inherent
someone,
thing for
like
people, right? That
yeah.
self-censorship is such an inherent thing for people, is, with our need to be liked by others or accepted by others,
Right.
we base our thing on that. And that can be difficult. I think there's a really fine balance, especially with stand-up comedy, where it's like, you know, you want to be your funniest self, but you also want to be yourself. You want that authenticity. And we're in an era now where audiences expect that. They want to know a little bit about you. They want to feel like they can see some of you in themselves, and
Yeah.
that's where that relatability happens. I think that's where you get those sort of, um I guess you could call it the Rushmore of
Yeah.
uh what's the word I'm looking for? Premises, right? Like, everybody has some sort of family dynamic, everybody has relationship dynamics, everybody has work dynamics, everybody has the way they grew up. So, like, somewhere in those, even though we're always all looking for new ideas and funny things in those spaces, those are the spaces we all keep coming back to because they're so
Right.
relatable to ourselves and to everybody else, right?
Yeah.
If you grew up on a military base in Germany as an American, your audience is pretty thin in terms of telling the story of growing up on a military base in Germany, right?
Right.
That's,
Yeah.
you have to find what's relatable.
Yeah.
However, everybody skinned their knee at some point in life. Did you see the school nurse? Did your mom kiss it better?
Yeah.
Did you have a heroin addicted dad who spit on it and started rubbing it with his thumb? Like, weird shit, but like, that's, I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
the
But
that
that's
sort of
even
common ground.
all the more reason to, if you're a comedian or you're any type of artist, like do stuff. Because like
Yeah.
if you are pushing down something that you want to do, then you're not authentically being yourself. And then the audience can see right through that on stage. They're gonna go, this guy's like just putting on an act, which is fine if that's the intention. Like if the intention is I want to act like there's that Timmy No Breaks guy who like acts like Andrew Dice Clay. That's like his whole thing. That's intentional. It's like ironic comedy where like he's not really, he's making like hacky jokes on purpose. That's the whole point.
Right.
And he's crushing with it because he just discovered this whole new opening, right? But probably because he was authentically being himself. Like maybe he really liked dice and he was just always doing it to his friends. And then they were like, that's really good. You should just do that on stage. And he was like, fuck it, I'll do it on stage.
Yeah.
Greg Stone was telling me that he would do to get better at performing. He did like karaoke like 4 nights a week. He would just find a karaoke room. And he's like,
Really?
yeah, he's like, the lines are already there for you. So there's no thinking about what the material is. The
Oh, that's
material
very
supplied
interesting.
and you get to now free flow on stage of like your physical movements and projecting and all this very theatrical stuff. But he's like, I don't view any of that as wasted time because now I have a band. And now me and a bunch of guys have a band
Wow.
and we make comedy songs and they do like live streams and because he did this thing, right? If he
That's
was
so
like
interesting.
if he's like, ah, oh, it was too nerdy. I don't want to embarrass myself doing karaoke. He never would have had that ripple effect and be like happy where he is today.
Oh, that's so interesting. And
Yeah.
it's funny you say that. Like, I didn't start doing stand up until I was already in my 40s. But part of that was that realization, like, oh, you have to be on a stage, you have to have a mic.
Hmm.
Like, so my sort of my stand-up origin story was, I
Used to
think the
crush
same.
at meetings.
Well, that's it, right? I think
You're
most
like
people
everyone's
start as
like
like,
dying laughing at a
you're
meeting.
the class clown, you're the funny work coworker, you're the funny classmate, whatever. And everybody's like, you
Yeah.
should try stand up. And even before, long before I ever tried it, I was like, well, there's a microphone and a spotlight, and there's writing and revising and all of these things that are terrifying. And even before ever doing it, if you've done that, your 3-minute public speaking in grade three, that 3 minutes is a lifetime if nobody cares that you're there.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
it's forever. So the thought
Totally.
of 5 or 7 or 10
Yeah.
really held me back from ever doing it for a really long time. And then one night I was at a late show at a club that I won't mention, on a Saturday night,
Okay.
and the guys that were on the show were all terrible.
Uh,
They all stunk on a Saturday night, and I walked out. I was like, I can do that.
yeah.
Which, if
Usually,
an open,
usually how it starts.
well, but looking back on it now from where I started and where I am now, like, if at now in my career, if an open micer walked up to me and said that, I'd be like, well, you're mental. That's insane. Never let those words go past your lips again. Like, that's crazy. Don't ever say that.
Uh,
But that's the truth. I was like, no, no, that can't. If that's Saturday when the real
yeah.
good ones do it, then that can't be it. And then I just started showing up, and I did it once with like friends and coworkers hanging out at an open mic, and it went well. But even
Nice.
after that, like the next day, everybody's like, "Are you going to do it again?" I'm like, "Yeah, but you guys can't come." Because it doesn't count if your friends are there, because everybody can make their friends laugh. Like, it just,
Right. So you
even
cared
even
about
right
like,
out of the gate, I was like, it doesn't count until strangers laugh,
yeah.
then it counts. And then you spend a couple years doing sporadic open mics and sucking and thinking you're probably better than you actually are, because that's
I
the
think you
other
need a
nature
little
of,
bit of that to just keep going. You need to be a
you
little
you
like
might
delusionally optimistic
you may
just
need some of that.
go. Yeah.
You may need some of that. I mean, we see a lot of it to an excessive point sometimes, where
Yeah.
comedy is subjective. There is like, what's funny to me may not be funny to you, but you also run into people who are abjectly bad at it,
Yeah.
and are just
Yes.
like, yeah, and they ask you weird questions like, where can I go for more minutes? I was like, you don't have any minutes
Uh,
now. What do you, I don't know what we're talking about. So there's
yeah.
those weird conversations. But like, I remember early on Howard, at Yuck Yuck, saying, you're okay. And then, as I got a little better, I was like, I'm getting better, but I used to be pretty good too. He's like, you really weren't. Like,
Hmm.
as that relationship grows, he's like, I got to be honest, you weren't very good. He's like, I said you were okay, but that's the best I could give you. There
Yeah.
was something there, but not enough. And then it just kind of keeps growing, and you start to figure out the professional sides of it, like how to host,
Yeah.
how to be on time, how to, like, that's the thing I always tell kids too, like the younger comics. um I always harp on like the professionalism of it, to be perfectly honest. Like,
Yeah.
I
Totally.
I I will tell anybody who listens that I don't get booked because I'm the funniest comic in Ottawa. I'm not even close. We have such a
It's
great scene, so much remarkable talent. You're on time. You're easy to work with. You hopefully have showered sometime in the last 24-hour period. Uh, you know,
yeah,
it'd
yeah.
be nice if you weren't one of the two prevailing smells in the green room of weed or BO. Uh, if you have two spots on a night, talk to the producers in advance, let them know. So you don't show up at one and be like, oh, you had me eighth on the lineup. I need to go first. I've got this other show I'm running to. Stuff like that. Be easy to work with. If a producer or club owner has to move a spot, be flexible if you can. Don't be difficult. Don't have attitude. Just be accepting of what's there. And I think that makes a huge difference. I know when Yuck Yuck sends me to the on tour stuff, Howard trusts me because he knows when I get there, I'll introduce myself to the contact. I'll
Yeah.
check and make sure the sound's good. I'll do those things. It's nice as someone who's selling a show to know that it's handled by the people who are there on site,
Right.
right? That it's going to be
Yeah.
taken care of. The guys are going to show up on time. They're going to be ready to go. They're going to deliver to the audience. They're going to make people laugh. And I think that's one of the greatest compliments I've ever gotten is hearing from, like, Howard for one, Mark Breslin, like people that trust you to be funny on a night when people are paying money.
Yeah.
I love it that people think I'm funny, but it means even more to me in a weird way that you trust me to be funny when people are giving you their money.
Yeah, when it's from the booker's point of view of like giving you that spot, because there are so many comedians. So
The
to
millions.
give you that spot, you're like, oh, cool. This is like confirmation and validation that like I'm doing the right thing. It was funny, Howard, after the Ron James weekend, I said to him, I said, so Howard, how was it? Like, did you like my stuff? And he goes, well, you're certainly confident and they like you. I was like,
Though,
it's like,
sometimes that's
I'll take
enough.
it. I'll take it.
Sometimes that's enough. It's funny. The night I got to
Yeah.
showcase for Mark Breslin, after your set, he's like he summons you up to the green room at Yucks in
Yeah.
Toronto, and you go upstairs, and he's like, "Do you want the good news or the bad news?" And I said, "Well, give me the bad news first." And he said, "I have 1,000 comedians that look exactly like you." I said, "That's not news to me. I have eyes. Like
Yeah, yeah,
I know
yeah.
there's 1,000 fat, bald, bearded, gregarious fucking guys out there. But you also
Yeah.
have to have that self-awareness. That shouldn't be news to you. If you,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think ultimately that stuff it factors in. It's important though. Like knowing an audience likes someone, you know, is great. If you have someone that's polarizing where you're like, flip a coin, the audience is either going to laugh hysterically or they're going to be running for the exits.
Yeah.
It's tough to book that for a remote show somewhere where they've paid thousands of dollars for the show and the comedians
Yeah.
are getting paid and you're getting travel money or hotel or whatever. You can't take that chance. You want to make sure that the people you're sending are going to deliver.
Yeah. I feel like dirty comics have to work like extra because like going to open mics and really and doing like, not club shows, but like just booked shows in town to just really like hone in on that mastery in a way of doing something so dark or so whatever that like an audience in, Bolton, Ontario, some random place is going to be like, "Oh, this is funny." It's
Yeah.
horrible, but he did it in a way that like made me laugh. So I
Yeah.
appreciate him for that. There was some artistry to it, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think, and for me, part of my thing is when I roll out the dark stuff, I'll do it in a almost sheepish, semi self-deprecating way that leads you to believe that in some of the stories are me based, and the ones that are other people based are done in a way that make you feel like I'm still possibly the victim of the story.
Okay.
Which I think makes that difficult subject matter easier to come around to, right? Rather than just beating someone over the head with it.
Yeah.
You want to finesse it in there. You can't just, you know, I've got a joke where the end of the joke is I've drowned a baby. That's the surprise. I've drowned a baby. But the joke leads to it that you would never expect it, and clearly,
Yeah.
like if you just walk up and it's like, haha, I killed a baby, it's not funny.
Not
There's
funny at
nothing
all.
like no, right. There's nothing to it. But when you've got this long drawn out story that you've
Uh,
you've gone to help this poor mother with a struggling baby, and in the way to silence the baby was in fact to drown said baby. And then, people eventually come around. They're like, that is horrifying. But also, and it makes them feel almost a little bad about laughing at it. They're like,
yeah.
I'm mad that I find this funny now, but I do. And but that's part of the joy in what we do too. Like there's fun in that process of how do I get to the thing that I think is funny here?
Yeah.
How do I get these people on board with this gross thing that really shouldn't probably be funny? And if you look at it strictly at face value, isn't,
Yeah.
how do we get there together so you now see the weird, dark space that I find the humor in?
Yeah, totally. I had that recently with my bit about getting robbed in China. I was like thinking about how do I was stuck forever on how to end it, and I finally like through Sam Norton's help, actually shout out Sam Norton. He like
So funny.
I
He's
put out a
so
clip.
funny.
Dude, he's the best. I put out a clip and be talking about how I can't end this joke, and he just DMs me and he goes, "Start it the way you want to end it." And I was like, "Brilliant. Why didn't I even think about that?" And so I figured out how do I want to start it because you always want to start with like the funniest thing, and then I was like, "Will that work as an ending?" Yeah, that works as an ending. And the whole thing was I was first upset with being on the airplane and someone in front of me leaning their seat back, and it kind of like ruined my flight, right? Because it's like right in my face and I have no room. And at first you're kind of like, I guess I can relate to that, but like,
Everybody can relate to that. If you've been
but
on a plane and not in business class, you can relate to that.
but you're also like, okay, this guy's just like crying about like his seat or whatever. Okay, there's nothing to be said here. And then the trip just progressively gets worse from that. And then the payback return is me getting to, after everything I've gone through, it's now my turn to lean the seat back and ruin someone else's day.
That's
And so
amazing.
there's that payoff for almost the audience of following you through the story of just like, oh, like it started out as like a mild complaint, but then it got progressively worse. So then it's now justified to do the thing that we were mad about at the beginning.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. See, and I love that. That's part of the fun. And just
So
to go
fun.
back to Sam Norton for a second and how much I respect his work and love him as a comedian. We did a show together, one of Dinesh Anwar's Toronto Comedy All Stars shows, the late night shows on Friday and Saturday night at
Oh yeah,
Yucks in
yeah.
Toronto. He, by the way, does an amazing job producing those shows. The places are, it's always packed. He sells a remarkable amount of tickets for these shows. It's really great.
Yeah, he
And
must have
so
a banger email list.
I
Like
don't know
just
how he does it,
collected over the years for sure.
but anytime I've ever done either been on that show or been on the early show at Yucks and come out, the lineups down the block of people, and it's always almost full. Like I don't think I've ever
That's so
been a part of
great.
that show. So it
Awesome.
was one of Sam's last shows while living in Toronto there. This was maybe 6, 8 weeks ago. And it had been kind of a dark show. I was late in the lineup, and some people had mentioned like every dark subject had been covered, like death, 9/11, slavery had been covered, like all of the things, right?
Yeah.
And so I was sitting there
You're like
watching.
throwing your stuff out.
No, it was great. I was watching and I was like, check, 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 check. This is the greatest night of my life. This is amazing. So I go up and I literally start in with like the first thing, like, boom, got that. And I'm like, I'm checking off the list with the audience. I was like, did that, check. Going over here, 9/11 joke, check. Slavery joke, check. I'm just going through the list that I've played along with this whole show,
Yeah.
and it's working great. And Sam's going on after me, and I'm coming off the stage, and he's like, "You just weaved a whole story about what happened tonight with all the acts before you." And I don't know that I've gotten many greater compliments. One, because it said I was working sort of live in the moment, which made me really happy
Yeah.
that I was able to adapt my material to what the audience had seen and really hit them with sledgehammers. And two, because I respect him so much and his work, to get that, compliments always hit a little harder when it's from someone
Oh
whose work
yeah.
you respect and
Yeah, yeah,
professionalism you
yeah.
respect. So I
Big
was
time.
really excited about that. Like it was really great. I was tickled. I went out after the show. I'm like, yeah, look at me. I'm so smart. And like you just,
He's
yeah, yeah.
he's like a comic that people need to like hang around. I remember I was listening to this podcast with Robert Rodriguez and Lex Friedman. And Robert Rodriguez was talking about how he'll just call up James Cameron. They're like friends to ask him like what he's working on. And this is like years ago. Robert Rodriguez did like the Spy Kids franchise. He did like his earlier work is really well known too, like cult classics. Um, but he calls up James Cameron and James Cameron, he's like, what are you working on? And he's like, well, I just bought this like new dolly and then I'm gonna take it apart and then make my own out of it so that I know how to use it better. And he's like, okay, cool. Calls him up another time. He's like, well, I'm building a submarine so that I can go down to the Titanic to get real footage of it. And he's like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm working on a new 3D glasses technology for the movie. They were just trying to like outdo each other to a point, which I think is actually healthy in a way for creativity because Sam's messaging me about this joke of mine, right? And I'm like, he gives me great advice. And then I was like, hey man, anytime you want to like write, like shoot back and forth ideas, let me know. He goes, I might take you up on that because I don't know if I can even say this. I'll bleep it out. It's only on the Patreon. He said that he's working on like a multi-part like special where he's writing like 3 hours and it's like each
Wow.
hour is like a different nothing motivated me to like sit down and write more than that message. I was like, what? No fucking way. Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, as soon as you hear what someone is like doing, you're like,
Yeah.
I need to, no, I don't need to do that, but I need to do more. Like, what the fuck?
Well, John, I don't know. Do you know John Hastings?
Yes. I don't know
Very,
him
very,
personally, but
yeah, very, very funny comedian. I had the good fortune of hosting for him when he was shooting one of his eight, I think it was eight specials last year he did.
crazy.
None of them were like full hours. Some of them were like 40 minutes. Some of them were 30, 20s. Like they were sort of almost micro, if you will. But he released 8 in a year, which is like, it's bonkers. Like I don't, I'm always, that might be the most impressive thing for me with comedians beyond, you know, the success of headlining on weekends in various places and all that stuff. People that are proficient writers are wildly impressive to me because I am just not.
I can't.
Sort of most of my stories come from, they're like, my jokes are like the fish that got away, right? Like it starts with this little teeny fish that was part of a story for me, and then I embellish the fish until the fish is big enough to be an entire joke that makes a room full of people laugh,
All right.
right? And so it starts with a little nugget of reality and then turns into some, giant tale of bullshit that makes people laugh. And so when I hear people like, oh yeah, I wrote this new 10 minutes today. I'm like, you wrote 10 minutes today? Like, what?
Yeah.
That's how is that a thing? Or, when a more experienced comic says to me, yeah, I was talking to someone about, how Winnipeg does the format where they give you topics and you're supposed to, uh, build 5 or 10 minutes on that topic or around that topic, whatever. And yeah, he's just like, yeah, you should just go and write 7 or 8 minutes on that subject. I'm like, oh, just go and write
Yeah,
seven or
just go
eight good
do it.
minutes on that thing. Great. I'll go do that. As a guy with 25, 30 minutes of material, I'll just go write 10 fresh right now.
Yeah.
It'll happen. No
Yeah,
problem. It's that's I'm always super truly it's envy as well. Aside from admiration, it's envy. I wish I had that thing that just said, hey, I'm gonna go sit down and come up with some magical ideas and
yeah. Oh,
and write.
I think like Rogan said once that he just like does writes an essay. Like he doesn't try to be funny with it. He'll just like dive deep into a topic and he'll just write about that topic for whatever, for an hour. Just for an hour straight, he'll just nonstop. He'll be researching stuff and then he'll give his opinion on it like he's writing something for like the medical journal. You know what I mean? Like something that's so studious and just
I would like him to
whatever.
not be writing for any medical journal.
Yeah,
Hey,
maybe that was a bad
yeah,
example, but but like I'm like okay, that's a smarter way to approach it than looking at the blank page and going, okay, funny, funny, funny.
sure. Yeah, well,
What's funny?
that's it. Like I've
No.
sort of reached a point now where if something comes out of my mouth that elicits any sort of giggle from somebody, I try and pause long enough to be like, what was that?
Yeah. How do I
What just
expand on
sparked
that?
that? Because if I make, but it's so funny to me to see so many younger comedians who are very analog in their process. They've got their notebook like this, and it's fucking papers and shit. And I never do that. It's all
Yeah.
notes on my iPhone, right? It's all the note
Mm.
sec. But that I swear that note section, and if you could have a visual of what ADHD breakdowns look like, that would be my notes section. It's just this like chaotic, just lines and
Yeah.
paragraphs and non sequitur, completely out of context. Sometimes I look at it, I'm like, I don't know what I was thinking. Like what?
Mine's all
Sometimes
color
it's
coded.
very clear, but sometimes it's just like I don't know what this means.
Yeah,
I have
yeah,
no
yeah.
idea,
It's the
and
best.
hopefully it floats back in the ether at some point and comes back around. That was one of the cool things. I actually uh, K. Trevor Wilson. Someone gifted me in the early days of my stand up comedy. Someone gifted me a cameo by K. Trevor Wilson, which is like random as shit.
That's so
But
funny.
it was really great because it's like I'm going to give you one piece of advice, and it's a piece of advice that Mike McDonald gave me back in the day, and that was don't throw anything away. If for whatever reason it's tickled your funny bone or poked you in the spidey senses of comedy, hold on to it. You may not like believe in the fact that your comic ideals found something funny in that, but maybe your skill set or your experience hasn't caught up to it yet.
That's
Don't
it.
just
Yeah.
because I know a lot of comedians you'll frequently hear like oh, I'll try it 3 times. If it doesn't work 3 times, I throw it away.
That's
And it's just like
crazy.
don't throw it away. Just
I've
hang
had
on to it,
jokes I
park it, throw it
wrote.
like
I do have that. I have jokes that I wrote 2 years in that I came across the note like 6 years later, and I was like, "Oh, this is funny." And then I just started thinking about that idea, and then
that's great.
the whole joke just came to me, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Like I didn't even need to like sit down and write it. I just had to see the idea, it re-spark that, and now I had the tool set of like how to
Right.
actually do the joke.
Right.
You can never throw stuff away. It's crazy what'll happen.
Am I crazy? I'm seeing my visual screen here. Am I red? Do I look red to you?
No, I know I look like orange,
Okay.
but you don't look red at all. I'll
I'm like, I
fix.
never go outside. How can I possibly be this red?
You're like, why do my cheeks look so rosy?
It's unbelievable. I look like I've been in Cancun all day. What is happening
Watch you
there?
just have like your light is just like a heat lamp, and you've
That
just
would
been
be
slowly
hilarious.
burning your
Yeah,
face.
I'm going full Kramer at Kenny Rogers Roasters.
Yeah, yeah.
It's tremendous.
Emile, there's the one question that I always ask all my guests. If you can make a phone call to your 15-year-old self, give your younger self a piece of advice based on everything you know now, it's not going to change your life at all, but think of yourself at 15. You're going to give that kid some advice. What would you say?
Uh, I think just that being normal is overrated. It's okay to be the kid that's a little loud. It's okay to be, a little different. The kid that blurts out something funny every now and again, because you may just turn it into something. I've been lucky enough to turn it into a really cool piece of my life in stand-up comedy that I look forward to every time I get to go on stage. And if I think back to, if I were to think back to being 15 years old, the idea of standing in front of a room full of people being expected to public speak would have been the most terrifying thing in the world to me.
Yeah, you're like,
Like I would
hell
have,
no.
yeah, like truly, if there was a, hey, by the way, you got to give a speech at high school for 5 minutes, I'd be like, I'm sick that day. Well, we didn't tell you what day it was. Doesn't fucking matter. I am sick. I cannot come to school that day. So to have that be a thing that I look forward to now, and I don't have to fear having weird ideas or saying things that will come off as maybe oh, because I think a lot of comedians get that well, you don't have a filter. Okay, so what?
Why
So I
filter the
don't.
fun?
But also I think the other
It's
thing
much easier to apologize.
people don't appreciate that if you have a mind that works in the same way as a comedian's mind does, you actually got the filtered version.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah,
first thing that popped into my mind was A, probably twice as funny, and B, twice as mean. Somebody's
yeah.
feelings would have got hurt. It was very funny though, but you would have been upset about it. And so
Yeah.
you did get the filtered version. So I
Yeah.
think, yeah, 15-year-old me would have liked to know that being considered normal was overrated.
I love that. No, I now these are two new t-shirt ideas for you. Normal is overrated and don't judge my filter.
Yeah, don't judge my filter. Yeah, I don't think I'm quite at the merch stage yet.
You gotta get it for the
Uh
people to buy it. Just make it
my
and have it up there.
I actually for a long time I really resisted even getting headshots done.
Oh no.
It wasn't like I used to make jokes about it. I'd say like my goal in comedy is to get just far enough to never need headshots. And then you start getting booked at clubs and weekends and stuff, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna put you on the poster." And they started pulling these like photos from Facebook or Instagram that you're tagged in, where it's like it's all side chin,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they look like those old National Enquirer things where it's like Sasquatch sported in the wild. It's just like this grainy picture of you doing this. Like I was like, okay, that's enough of that. Like at least let me control what it is of my face people are seeing. So I went and did them, but yeah, it's a merch is not on the table just yet.
You gotta do it, man. That's how everybody makes their money.
That's what I'm told. I'm told crowd work clips and merch are the way it goes. But
Hey,
I
that's the new era we live in. You just gotta
it
go with the
really is.
flow.
It's crazy that that's created such a situation too with audiences where because crowd work is the way shows are marketed now, people that don't frequent comedy clubs show up and they think it's interactive theater. They think they're part of the show, and it's like
That's
no,
crazy. Which is a good
you're
idea.
not. Well,
But it's
it
not.
can be if that's a
Yeah.
thing, but if it's just a regular comedy show and people don't realize that they're not supposed to be interrupting the comics, and most clubs are pretty good about it, but it can be challenging when someone's 10 beers in and decides
Mm,
that your
they're gonna
choices
help you
are
go viral.
right. Right, I'm helping the show. No, you're not.
Yeah, no.
And there's honestly, it's nice to have been able to host enough shows where you now have outs and you've figured out sort of how to dance around it as best you can. But there are also nights where unfortunately someone insists on being a part of the show, and they usually don't like the way they end up being part of the show.
Yeah.
But that's the self-inflicted gunshot wound of comedy, right?
Yeah.
Like I've come in tonight to ruin the show, and I'm getting thrown out or I'm getting mercilessly picked on by a comedian that's smarter
That's
and funnier than I am, and
that's why they need elasticity.
that's it. Got to bounce back, baby.
Emile, I'm gonna share your stuff here. It's Comedy Emile on Instagram.
That's me, baby.
emilemansourcomedy.com is the
That's me
website.
also.
Yeah, check out Emile. He's hilarious. You can find him in Toronto, Ottawa. All these dates are up here. Oh, these are
I
older
do.
ones.
I think I have a link tree that I update every time I book new shows. So,
Okay,
and I will
check
be
the
on
link
tour
tree.
with Aaron Belial again in November. I'll
Nice.
be joining him in Toronto, Hamilton, and then in those 2 weeks in between, we'll probably be filling in some other stuff around London, Oshawa, Kingston. So there will be a host of Ontario dates in November. So I
Sick.
will update accordingly once those are all finalized. But November 21st and 22nd at Comedy Bar in Toronto, and November 28th and 29th, Levity and Hamilton.
Nice. Well, hit me up when you're in Toronto, man. We'll
I
chill.
shall. Sounds good,
Yeah.
man.
Thanks for coming on, dude. This was awesome. We gotta
It's
do
my
it again.
pleasure. Always great talking to you, man. We'll see you again soon.
All right, later, dude. Have a
Take
good
care.
night.